Hey guys, tonight we're heading deep into the misty wooden alleys of Edo, Japan, sometime in the mid-1700s. You're waking up, not to bird song or the distant hum of traffic, but to the clatter of wooden sandals on cobbled lanes and the faint hiss of water being boiled in iron kettles. Somewhere nearby, a street vendor is yelling about pickled daikon. Steam curls through the air like a lazy spirit. And your job? Well, you're about to spend the day working and surviving in the Bathhouse district. Spoiler alert, you probably won't survive this with all your dignity intact. The etiquette alone is its own martial art. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're up for it, post your location and local time in the comments. I love seeing where in the world people are listening from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You blink awake to the sound of ladles clinking and a rooster that seems way too smug about its own punctuality. The air smells like burned charcoal, miso paste, and slightly too much fish. You slept on a thin mat in the loft above the bathhouse's woodpile, bundled in a rough cotton yukata, though judging by your crick in the neck, the straw stuffing in your pillow staged a rebellion sometime after midnight. Below you, the furnace master is already hard at work, stoking the bathhouse's huge cauldron-like boilers. They look like something out of a dragon's cave. Massive, iron-bellied monsters puffing steam into the pre-dawn haze. You swing your legs over the side of the loft and nearly step on a cat curled like a comma beside your sandals. It opens one eye, stretches, and promptly goes back to sleep. Must be nice. You climb down the creaking ladder into the main bathhouse, still cloaked in dawn gloom. Everything smells wet. Not bad wet, but humid, pine-scented wet. The bathhouse, or sento, is made almost entirely of wood, warm cedar walls, bamboo blinds, and floors that are never quite dry. It feels a bit like living inside a sauna that also has opinions about your hygiene. Outside, the alley is a sleepy labyrinth of sliding doors, sake shops just beginning to open, and women sweeping stoops with straw brooms. Lanterns hang unlit from eaves, their paper skins sagging with dew. You hear distant temple bells and, closer, the squeaky yawn of another bathhouse worker who lives across the lane and definitely does not appreciate mornings. Your first task? Hauling kindling and stoking the furnace. The fire must be kept going at a very precise temperature. Too low, and the bath won't be hot enough for the first customers. Too high and the wooden tubs might warp. And that's how you get yelled at by the boss, who is short, stern, and capable of launching full verbal arrows without raising his voice. It's like being scolded by a very disappointed cloud. As you feed the fire with split logs, you hear the clatter of the first delivery cart, a sleepy teenager pulling a rattling wooden wagon full of clean towels. He's chewing on roasted chestnuts and offers you one with a grin. It's warm and nutty, and for a brief moment, life doesn't seem so bad. By now, the street is coming to life. Merchants drag open shutters. A tofu vendor calls out his morning deal. Buy one, get a free smile. And someone nearby is already arguing about which kabuki actor has the best eyebrows. Welcome to Edo, the city of gossip, bath water, and questionable fashion choices. Inside the bathhouse, you help set out the tiny stools and wooden buckets customers will use for scrubbing before entering the communal tubs. Personal hygiene in Edo, Japan follows its own logic. You clean yourself before entering the bath, not after. That way, everyone can sit in the same steaming pool of water while pretending it's clean, sort of like soup. If the soup gossiped about you behind your back, you toss a towel over your shoulder and start filling buckets, occasionally slipping on the slick wooden planks. The first regulars will arrive before sunrise fully lifts, and you need to make sure everything is perfect, because once the samurai come in, they expect calm water, no splashes, and absolutely no eye contact. The bathhouse cat has now wandered in and is pawing at the edge of a tub like it might climb in. You gently shoo it away, only for it to return 5 minutes later with a dead cricket and a look that says, "This is your job now." A sharp clack echoes from the front. Someone has snapped open a fan. The door slides open, and the first customer of the day steps in. A hunched old man with eyebrows longer than most house cats. He nods, places a coin in the payment bowl, and shuffles to his usual stool. The day has officially begun. Historians still argue whether Edo's bathhouse culture began more out of sanitation or social necessity. After all, water was abundant, firewood was cheap, and people were eager for warmth and conversation. What's certain is that bathhouses quickly became the neighborhood hub, part spa, part soapbox, part matchmaking agency. You check the temperature with a long bamboo dipstick. It's just right, hot enough to make your fingers tingle, not so hot that it scares off the old-timers. Outside, a lantern flickers to life. A woman across the street begins singing as she sweeps, her voice thin and sweet as rice wine. And the steam rises again, curling like incense into the waking sky. By the time the sun has properly pushed above the horizon, the street outside is humming, softly, like a sleepy swarm of gossiping bees. You've got your first lull of the day, which means it's time for the most sacred ritual in the Edo Bathhouse district: breakfast and morning gossip. You trade your towel for a chipped clay bowl and wander toward the food stall next door. This particular stall is run by an elderly woman with the agility of a ninja and the scowl of someone who's seen one too many poorly folded futons. She ladles out steaming bowls of rice gruel and hands you a slab of grilled mackerel that smells like heaven, smoke, and minor regret. You sit on an overturned crate and begin eating while watching your neighbors, who are already whispering about who visited which bathhouse last night and why one merchant's daughter was wearing makeup at dusk. Scandalous. A pair of apprentices from a rival cento shuffle past in matching robes that were clearly bleached in a hurry. One gives you a smug look. His bathhouse boasts imported pine-scented water, which is the Edo equivalent of having a hot tub with Bluetooth. You respond by pretending not to notice that his sash is inside out. The breakfast crowd swells. Fishermen returning from the bay unload nets in the distance, and one of them hawks a suspiciously shiny eel that seems to be glaring at everyone. A rice merchant loudly argues with a carpenter about interest rates, while a street performer tries to balance a spinning parasol on his forehead and ends up knocking over a pile of sandals. You munch on pickled plum and try not to choke when a local widow says, quite audibly, that your boss was spotted buying hair oil. Not for himself, of course, but for a guest. Her eyebrow raises could slice bamboo. The bathhouse, as you now fully realize, is not just a place to wash away sweat. It's a finely tuned machine of neighborhood surveillance. Back at the Sento, your next task is sorting the slippers. If that sounds simple, you clearly haven't worked in a place where everyone's footwear looks exactly the same. Sandals, clogs, split-toe tabi, lined up like tired wooden ducks. You try to place them by memory. The red-trimmed ones belong to the scholar who sings to himself. The muddy pair with the broken thong belong to the man who smells of pickled radish and always forgets to pay. The smallest pair might belong to the ghost child you hope isn't real. Just then, a regular customer walks in, cheerfully greeting you with a slap on the back that almost topples you into the towel bin. He's the neighborhood storyteller, part-time fisherman, full-time exaggerator. He claims he once bathed with a daimyo, and that his soap was made from whale tears. He's probably lying. You like him anyway. As the morning creeps toward late morning, a curious sound drifts down the alley, the rhythmic tapping of a bamboo flute. A traveling musician is setting up by the entrance to the district, drawing a small crowd. You can't see him, but you know the tune. It's one of those lilting melodies that seems to loop on itself like a pleasant daydream. Someone tosses him a coin. Someone else tosses a leftover dumpling. You help refill the water buckets and make sure the soap trays are topped up. Edo soap is a far cry from what you know today. It's made from a mix of rice, bran, ashes, and occasionally bean paste. It smells faintly nutty, feels oddly grainy, and is rumored to cure everything from acne to unrequited love. Historians still argue whether it was truly effective, or whether people just appreciated its ability to make bathwater look a bit cloudy, and therefore impressive. A quick detour to the drying rack reveals something troubling. Someone's towel is missing. Again. Towel theft isn't technically a crime, but it's a punishable offense in the court of neighborhood opinion. You glance around suspiciously. Could it be that same apprentice with the inside-out sash? Or the storyteller, spinning yarns and folding linens when no one's looking? You shake your head and get back to work. The late morning shift is when things start to pick up, especially as more customers stumble in after a night of sake or questionable decision-making. One man arrives with a dramatic limp and a bandaged finger. He claims it's from a sword duel. The truth? He slipped on a tofu cube. A child scurries past you, holding her nose. Her older brother is daring her to sniff the herbal bath barrel, which currently holds a concoction of ginger, seaweed, and a mysterious leaf that smells suspiciously like old sandals. You chuckle and guide them gently out the door. No herbal disasters before noon, please. Another customer hands you a coin and asks for his usual. You nod solemnly, though you have absolutely no idea what that means. You hand him a folded robe, a bucket, and a polite smile, and he proceeds as though everything is exactly right. This is an ancient bathhouse trick. When in doubt, move with confidence and let the steam cover your confusion. You finally take a moment to breathe, leaning against a pillar and sipping tea from a cracked porcelain cup. The district hums around you, all wood creaks, quiet chatter, and the smell of clean warmth. This is your life now, half steam, half ceremony, and just a pinch of chaos. The sun climbs higher, and the quiet lull of morning is about to be steamrolled by the midday rush. You can feel it building, the rhythm of the district tightening, pulsing, like a tea kettle that's just about to whistle. Inside the bathhouse, you do a final round of checks. Water levels are good, towels are stacked, no rogue sandals lurking in odd corners. All is ready. Then, with the jingle of a wind chime and the creak of the sliding door, the first wave hits. An elderly samurai enters, walking with a posture so perfect it looks painful. His robes are crisp, his sandals spotless, and his expression says he's not here for small talk or lukewarm water. He grunts in your direction, nods once, and you silently scurry to prepare his preferred tub. Corner slot, slightly hotter than average, bucket placed exactly 18 inches to the left. The water hisses as you pour it in. Steam wraps around your face, warming your cheeks and fogging your lashes. You can't see your own hand in front of your face, but you can hear the bathhouse cat meowing in protest somewhere above the ceiling rafters. The samurai removes his sword, never far, never fully out of reach, and leaves it near the door. A good sign, unless he forgets it. Then you'll need to return it, and no one wants to be the person knocking on a samurai's door, holding their weapon. Within minutes, more customers arrive. A pair of merchants come in mid-argument, still carrying their account books. They scrub themselves with such aggression that the soap suds fly across the room like theatrical snow. A kabuki actor, recognizable by his slightly too dramatic makeup and flair for folding his towel with panache, enters with a flurry of bows. He compliments your towel arrangement, which makes you beam for an embarrassingly long time. Then comes the carp. Technically, it's not your carp. It belongs to the vendor who runs the freshwater stall 2 doors down, but it escapes. Again, and somehow flops its glistening, very annoyed self right into one of the smaller tubs. Chaos ensues. A woman screams. Someone slips. A barrel gets knocked over. The kabuki actor yells, "Bravo!" and claps as though this is part of an elaborate play. You, of course, are the one who has to remove the carp, and it fights like a slipper soaked in oil. Eventually, it ends up back in its tub, and you earn a sarcastic round of applause from the peanut gallery. The samurai raises an eyebrow. You think he might be amused. As things calm down, you notice the scent in the air has changed. Warmer, more fragrant. It's from the heated wooden tubs, yes, but also from the pine sprigs and yuzu peels floating on the surface. The Sento is famous for its seasonal additives. Today's selection includes sliced oranges, some soothing mugwort, and a handful of mystery herbs that the boss swears by but won't identify. Trade secret, he says, which means probably something growing behind the tea shop. You refill the smaller buckets and watch as a group of older women arrive. They chatter like birds, their voices rising and falling in overlapping tones. One brings a gift for the bathhouse, homemade pickles. You accept them with a bow and stash the jar under the counter. Bribes? No, merely fermented expressions of gratitude. Edo bathhouses were often more than just a place to wash. They were meeting spaces, social hubs, places where class lines blurred in the steam and everyone had a reason to linger. Historians still argue whether the communal baths helped reduce social tension in a city bursting at the seams, or whether they were simply good for gossip and sore backs. The bathhouse is divided into men's and women's sides, though the walls are thin and the laughter tends to leak through. There's an unspoken rhythm to it all. Buckets slosh, soap squeaks, the furnace hums. Someone hums an old folk tune. Someone else belches. It's homey. Just as you're starting to enjoy the rhythm, a young noble storms in with 2 servants and a full change of embroidered robes. He's carrying a scented fan and glaring as though someone insulted his family rice farm. Apparently, he's decided to honor the local bathhouse with his presence. Fantastic. You help him undress. Well, you help his servants help him undress and lead him to the tub. He sniffs again, then mutters that the temperature is off by a degree. You resist the urge to hurl a sandal. While he sulks in the hottest bath, a dog wanders in from the alley, sniffs the noble's fan, and promptly curls up on your towel stack. You decide not to move it. Dogs, like cats, hold higher rank than you in the bathhouse ecosystem. A customer from the neighborhood leans over and whispers that he once saw that same noble cry over a spicy dumpling. You nod solemnly because bathhouse secrets are sacred, and also because you really like that dumpling vendor. As noon approaches, the bathhouse begins to empty. People trickle out, glowing, relaxed, some slightly pink from the heat. Coins clink in the payment bowl. Farewells are exchanged. You mop the floors, straighten the stools, and check the water once more. The carp, thankfully, stays in its tub. With the noon crowd having scrubbed, soaked, gossiped, slipped, and mostly departed, you finally catch a moment to breathe. You sit on the edge of a wooden bucket, the warmth of steam still rising around your ankles, sipping a barely warm cup of barley tea someone left behind. A cicada chirps outside. The bathhouse has that peculiar calm found only in places where people have just removed their socks and their secrets. But there's no rest for the slightly underpaid, especially now that it's etiquette hour. Because now, just when your spine starts to consider relaxing, your boss wanders in, wearing his official towel of disapproval, and announces that the afternoon clientele is more particular. Translation: no water dribbles, no crooked buckets, and absolutely no towels left folded the wrong way. Apparently, the direction a towel faces can either soothe the soul or anger the ancestors. And then there's the unspoken rule of where not to put your towel. Let's be clear. In Edo bathhouse culture, you do not bring your towel into the water. You just don't. You rinse off before you get in. Place your folded towel neatly on your head and proceed to soak without making waves, literally and socially. Forget this rule, and a grandmother might scold you so fiercely you'll feel like your ancestors were also misbehaving. So you go around adjusting towel stacks with the gravitas of a librarian filing forbidden scrolls. You also double-check that no one's brought food too close to the tubs. Boiled dumplings plus bathwater are a deeply confusing smell. And you politely remind the actor in the corner that singing arias during his foot scrub might be frowned upon. Just as you're wiping down a bamboo bench, a regular named Uncle Jun ambles in. He's retired, chatty, and built like a stack of tofu boxes. He always forgets the rules on purpose. Today, he brings a towel the size of a blanket, plops it right on the bathwater's edge, and hums a tune from his youth that historians still argue might have been a protest song or a lullaby for drunk farmers. You gently correct him with your best polite but panicked tone. He grins, apologizes, then folds the towel correctly, only to begin whistling something far less acceptable. Your boss's eye twitches. Yours does too. Outside, the alley grows warmer, and a breeze carries the smell of roasting chestnuts and distant river moss. You open a few bamboo windows to air the place out. The humidity makes your robe cling in strange places, and your wooden sandals squeak like disapproving grandparents as you move from room to room. Another customer enters, a young apprentice covered in ink splotches and smelling of lacquer. You recognize him from the printmaker's shop across town. He bows deeply, probably his first visit, and you give him the welcome to the weirdest etiquette test of your life tour. You show him the cleansing area, the soap, the little stool, the hair bucket, the scrubbing angle, the precise amount of socially acceptable sighing, and, of course, towel protocol. He gets through it like a champ, until he tries to wring out his towel inside the bath. Uncle Jun gasps audibly. Someone drops a bucket. A cricket chirps. You fix it quickly. Crisis averted. The apprentice apologizes in 17 syllables, possibly a haiku. All is forgiven. The bathhouse cat strolls through the scene like a tiny towel judge, pausing to inspect your folding technique before hopping up onto a sunny windowsill for its 5th nap of the day. It yawns like it invented relaxation. You silently envy it. Then, just as things begin to feel peaceful again, an argument erupts in the women's section. Something about sandals or towel mix-ups, or perhaps someone using someone else's special herbal oil. It's hard to tell through the screen wall, but you hear sharp words and the distinctive sound of someone slapping a bucket down in righteous indignation. You and your colleague exchange glances. Your job description technically includes peacekeeping, though it's more like not being the last person to respond. You let your more diplomatic coworker handle it, and instead busy yourself by rearranging the soap trays in order of most to least crumbled. You take pride in these small rituals. Soap here isn't just soap. It's made from rice bran, sometimes mixed with ashes, or even persimmon peels. Some say persimmon soap is best for warding off spirits, though others argue it just makes you smell like a fruit basket that's had a rough week. Speaking of scent, someone has added too much clove to the herbal barrel. It smells like a bakery opened inside a spice drawer. You discreetly dilute it with some pine water and hope no one notices. Except they will, because one of the neighborhood ladies has the nose of a bloodhound and the opinion volume of a temple bell. She enters 5 minutes later, sniffs once, and says, You break into a cold sweat. She does not elaborate. This is terrifying. By now, the etiquette checklists have taken on a life of their own. You adjust stool placement, ensure the brushes are laid out like ceremonial offerings, and check that the water doesn't exceed the sacred noodle soup temperature zone. It's just hot enough to make your pores reconsider their life choices. Somewhere outside, a child drops a tray of beans. The noise is oddly satisfying. You smile, and as the shadows shift and the light pours through the slats and honeyed stripes, the bathhouse begins to glow. Not brightly, not dramatically, but in that warm, wooden, womb-like way that tells you everything is in its place, even the towel someone tried to fold into a crane. Afternoon stretches across the rooftops like a sleepy cat, and the bathhouse breathes in its favorite time of day. The water has simmered just long enough to feel like velvet on skin. The air smells of cedar, steamed citrus, and if you're standing too close to the herbal corner, a hint of why does this remind me of pickles? This is when the real magic begins. The herbs, the scents, the strange little rituals passed down from someone's grandmother's cousin's roommate. Because in Edo, bathing is never just about soap. It's an entire miniature universe of wellness, superstition, and what if we added more mint leaves? You begin by prepping the kusuryu, the medicinal bath. These are more than just fancy tubs. They're part tradition, part improvisation, and part alchemy. Today's blend includes yuzu rinds, shredded ginger, some dried chrysanthemum petals, and a twist of pine needles that make your hands smell like winter. You sprinkle them into the tub like you're seasoning a stew for a very clean ghost. A customer approaches the tub, sniffs, and declares, "Smells like my aunt's attic. Perfect." Compliment accepted. You move on to the clay pots lined up near the back wall, jars of mysterious powders, preserved roots, and bundles of dried leaves tied with red string. You've never dared open the one labeled cranefoot, though you're about 63% sure it's just a name. Maybe. A woman in her 50s arrives with a small pouch and hands it to you with the solemnity of a shrine offering. "Only one pinch," she warns. You nod like you understand, then promptly forget what she said as a yelp from the other room draws your attention. The bathhouse cat, once again, has offended someone by climbing into the clean towel basket. Again, you lift it out gingerly, place it on the window ledge, and try to fold around the residual cat hair like a tiny apologetic ninja. Meanwhile, the Sento's oldest customer arrives, a man who claims he once bathed with the shogun. No one believes him, but he tells the story with such conviction that even the steam pauses to listen. He requests the mint and mustard soak, a combination that smells vaguely like regret and a bento box, but insists it keeps his joints limber and his memory sharper than a sword. Historians still argue whether some of these mixtures had genuine medicinal value or if it was all just hot water and hope. You spend a few minutes slicing fresh cucumber and mulberry leaves for the foot bath, all while dodging requests for hotter water, colder water, more bubbles, fewer bubbles, and exactly one cherry blossom if available. A tea house girl hands you a bundle of lavender stalks tied with a pink ribbon and tells you it's for extra softness. You don't ask follow-up questions. Every now and then, the steam clears just enough for you to glimpse the street outside, the lanterns beginning to flicker in their iron brackets, the silhouettes of evening vendors setting up trays of sesame sweets, and a boy sprinting barefoot, chased by a furious grandmother wielding a sandal. Back inside, you light a few incense sticks to freshen the air. Their smell mingles with the yuzu and cedar and ginger until the whole bathhouse feels like it's been swallowed by a fragrant cloud. One customer sighs so deeply, you worry they've entered another plane of existence. You make a mental note. Never again let the actor from earlier mix his own herbs. He's currently soaking in something purple that smells like plum wine and hubris. But amid the fragrant chaos, there are quiet moments too. You help a mother bathe her fussy toddler, distracting the child with bubbles shaped like rice balls. You pour hot water slowly down an old woman's back, the way she prefers, letting her close her eyes and remember things no one else remembers. A man enters silently, nods once, and sits for a long while in the smallest tub, saying nothing, breathing steam, existing gently. The bathhouse becomes a rhythm again. Slosh, sigh, drip, steam. Outside, a vendor calls out the evening rice ball special, miso and pickled plum wrapped in seaweed. Your stomach growls. One of the older women catches the sound and tuts, pushing a rice cracker into your hand. You thank her with a bow and 3 rapid chews. Back at the herb station, you carefully measure out the next blend. Ginger for circulation, persimmon leaf for skin, and a pinch of dried mandarin peel, because someone once said it attracted good fortune. You're not sure it works, but it does smell like happiness boiled into tea. You glance at the customer list. A traveling doctor is expected soon, and he's famously picky about his soak. No mint, he once declared. It confuses the spleen. You prepare a blend of barley straw and sweet flagroot. It smells earthy and oddly reassuring, like a farm that sings lullabies. As you mop a small puddle near the entrance, you find a sandal that's far too small for any adult. You check the lost and found basket. It's full. 3 single slippers, 1 broken fan, a towel shaped like a crane, possibly on purpose, and a painted comb that's definitely seen better decades. You drop in the sandal and wonder, briefly, if there's a lost and found for lives too. Steam curls up again. The window rattles as a light breeze flows through the slats. Someone laughs from the women's section. Bright, uncontrolled, belly-deep laughter. It echoes for a moment and then melts into the soft splash of water. And the scents? They linger, like memory, like sleep. You barely have time to enjoy the post-herbal calm before the next wave rolls in. An afternoon crowd with muddy sandals, loud opinions, and enough personal quirks to fill a 5-volume scroll. Welcome to the Nakaburo, the mid-bath crowd, otherwise known as everyone who thinks they're the only ones who showed up. First through the sliding door is a sumo wrestler, not a famous one, just large enough to have his own gravitational pull and polite enough to duck through the door frame. You scramble to guide him to the largest tub and fetch the reinforced stool specially reserved for our sturdier friends. He nods in appreciation and settles in with a sigh that rattles the windows. Next, a monk arrives, tall, silent, and serene, with robes that flutter like they've never touched the ground. He carries a satchel of sandalwood paste and a gourd of what you assume is holy water. He chooses the quietest corner and begins his pre-bath ritual, an elaborate process involving prayer, precise ladle movements, and humming that makes your eyebrows vibrate. The sumo and the monk eye each other across the bath. They nod, acknowledging the ancient Edo rule. Different paths, same steam. Then comes the lady in disguise. You spot her immediately, too graceful, too quiet, a little too careful in how she adjusts her yukata. Her hair is tied like a boy's, and her face half hidden by a fan. But you've folded enough robes to know when someone's faking a deeper voice. No one else seems to notice, or pretends not to. Either way, You just offer her a towel, point toward the more private washing area, and give her a look that says, "Your secret's safe, unless the cat spills it." The bathhouse cat, thankfully, is asleep in a bucket. The room fills. A merchant complains about his joints. A woodblock print artist compares ink stains on his knuckles with someone who might be a poet, but smells too much like pickled squid. 2 schoolboys arrive to deliver charcoal, then sneak in a 5-minute soak, pretending to test the temperature while giggling at every splash. The tubs churn with conversation, complaints, and the occasional philosophical tangent. One man tries to explain how the stars are reflected in bathwater, gets halfway through a metaphor, then forgets what he was saying when he drops his soap. You're moving constantly now, refilling water, passing out towels, mopping slippery corners, and gently correcting etiquette violations like a referee at a soap-slicked ballet. Someone spills tea in the dressing room. Someone else wants a robe less orange. A sandal goes missing, reappears on the roof, and no one asks how. Then the sliding door bursts open, and in strides the kabuki troupe. You've heard rumors about them. Their performances are famous, their egos even more so. Today they arrive en masse, painted faces, dramatic gestures, and robes that cost more than the entire bathhouse. The lead actor throws a towel into the air and catches it with the flair of a man who has never done his own laundry. They occupy the far end of the tubs, lounging like lacquered sea creatures, exclaiming about water temperature and herbal blends with theatrical glee. One requests a lemon twist, darling, and you hand him a slice of yuzu, resisting the urge to garnish it with sarcasm. A younger actor attempts to impress the disguised lady with a badly improvised haiku. Steam rises softly. Your eyes are like, fish ponds. Is that your towel? She does not reply. The cat, now awake, meows pointedly and walks away. Meanwhile, the monk and Sumo have begun a deep discussion about tofu. Silken versus firm, texture, philosophy. You catch a snippet. Tofu is like the self, shapeless yet defined. You don't know what it means, but you nod as if you do. Historians still argue whether Edo bathhouses encouraged this kind of open social mingling by design, or if people just got chatty when naked. Either way, the scene unfolding before you would make Confucius rethink his career path. The water sloshes, voices rise and fall. The scent of cedar blends with that odd purple soak from earlier, and someone accidentally sits on a cucumber. You pass out fresh cups of barley tea and try not to wince as the kabuki actor continues his courtship via metaphor. You are like a carp, beautiful, wet, and rarely predictable. The lady in disguise finally replies, deadpan, "I prefer turtles." The room erupts with laughter. At the center of it all, the bathhouse holds steady. Wooden beams creaking in the steam, lanterns flickering, herbs swirling, lives overlapping in the warm water. You mop another puddle. Someone sneezes. The cat licks its paw and stares directly into your soul. The late afternoon sun filters in through the bamboo slats, painting golden stripes across the floor. The bathhouse quiets for a breath. Everyone soaking, steaming, existing in that soft, slow hour where time feels paused. And in that stillness, as you fold a freshly dried robe and hang it just so, you realize something strange. You don't even mind the noise, or the soap scum, or the towel politics, because somehow, in the chatter, in the drama, in the rising steam, you've found the rhythm of Edo. Evening slips in like a robe sliding off a shoulder, quiet, smooth, and just a little flirtatious. The lanterns outside flicker to life, glowing soft amber against the deepening blue sky. Somewhere down the street, a shamisen strikes up a tune, slow, lazy, like it's been soaking in the bathwater all day too. You begin preparing for the next transformation. Because while the bathhouse has already seen farmers and sumo, monks and kabuki divas, now it shifts again. As the sun goes down, the sento becomes something else entirely, a place of whispers, ankle glimpses, and gentle flirtations soaked in steam. First, the tea house girls arrive, not courtesans, at least not officially, but entertainers with well-practiced laughs and fans that hide just enough of their faces to spark curiosity. They glide in like they've been choreographed by moonlight, their robes printed with delicate sakura blossoms, their hairpins gleaming. They chat softly, greet the regulars, and pick tubs with the best view of the lanterns. Then the merchants begin drifting in. These aren't the loud midday types. These are the polished, slightly tipsy evening crowd. Their robes smell faintly of sake. One of them brings a tray of sugared red beans, offering them around like a prince holding court. You sneak one, maybe two. The beans taste like sweet secrets. As the bathhouse fills again, the energy softens. People speak in murmurs, laughter turns breathier, and steam curls like it's eavesdropping. You refill the small herbal bowls with jasmine and orange peel. A few customers ask for foot rubs. Not from you, of course, but from each other. It's all very demure. Mostly. You notice a young man sketching behind the dressing screen, trying to capture the way the lantern light reflects on wet hair. He's subtle about it, but the cat has parked itself beside him, tail flicking disapprovingly with every bad pencil stroke. And over in the back tub, two regulars are deep in conversation. You catch snatches of it, something about whose daughter is learning the koto, someone else's brother who thinks he's invented a better tofu press. The tea house girls giggle at every other word. You're not sure if the joke is in the story or the storyteller. Then, as if on cue, the district's resident foot massage specialist arrives. He's small, bald, and always wears a robe with little rabbits embroidered on the sleeves. He brings a lacquered box filled with scented oils and the quiet authority of someone who knows exactly where your stress lives. Within moments, a queue forms, mostly merchants hoping that relaxed calves will translate into romantic bravery. One particularly bold customer offers a poem in exchange for a massage. It begins strong, something about moonlight and lilies, but quickly derails into a metaphor involving boiled turnips. He's gently turned away. You make the rounds, checking water levels and ensuring no one's towel has floated into enemy territory. The etiquette rules still apply, even if the mood is softer. One girl requests lavender steam, and you oblige with a sachet tied with string and dreams. It smells like summer naps and freshly folded laundry. Historians still debate whether Edo bathhouses truly served as informal matchmaking hubs, or if that reputation grew over time like moss on an old bucket. But standing here, surrounded by shy smiles, meaningful glances, and enough flirting to heat a second tub, you suspect the truth lies somewhere in the steam. Someone requests music. A flutist appears from who knows where, leans in the doorway, and plays a melody so gentle it feels like it's tucking the walls in for the night. The notes glide across the water, brushing over the surface like dragonflies. And just as you think the romance might overflow into soap opera territory, someone sneezes with the force of a cannon. It echoes, shakes the rafters, and splashes half the small tub. The mood doesn't break. It just wobbles, then resets, like a lantern swinging gently back into place. The flutist doesn't miss a note. You pass out cups of chilled barley tea and one very discreet sack cup to the man who swears he invented the footbath. He toasts the ceiling and mutters something about aromatic enlightenment. The bathhouse cat, ever the evening supervisor, curls beside a basket of folded robes and begins snoring with perfect timing. You glance outside. Fireflies blink in the alleyway. A couple walks past, hands almost touching. The lanterns cast long shadows that dance between the wooden beams. The whole district feels like it's breathing slowly, warmly, like it's slipping into something soft and familiar. Inside, you light one last incense stick, sandalwood and plum. Its smoke spirals into the rising steam. The tea house girls begin to leave, sleeves trailing like story endings. One winks at you, or maybe she blinked. You're too sleepy to tell the difference. And as the bathhouse settles once more, as the scent of orange blossoms mixes with whispers and warm skin, you realize this place is a lullaby with buckets, a gentle symphony of water, wood, and people just trying to find some quiet warmth in a city that never really sleeps. It starts with a knock, not a gentle one. 3 sharp raps on the outer door that make your spine straighten and your ladle freeze mid-pour. You glance at your coworker. They raise an eyebrow. The cat bolts under the counter. Then the door slides open, and in walk 2 officials, robes crisp, hair tied high, sandals almost suspiciously clean, and behind them, a 3rd man in modest dress, face pinched in that specific expression worn only by tattletales and grudge holders. Ah, one of those nights. You quickly bow, welcome them in, and offer towels as if this is just a regular bathhouse visit and not the beginning of a low-level inquisition. The lead official clears his throat. We've had a report, he says, of improper mixing and potential violations of decorum. You fight the urge to reply. Do you mean the purple soak or the poem about boiled turnips? Instead, you gesture calmly to the tubs, now half empty, their surface perfectly still. The last customers have trickled out, save for one older gentleman now snoring so peacefully that birds might roost in his hair. The tattletale leans in. He's pointing, whispering, gesturing toward the dressing room. She's here, he mutters, dressed as a boy. Disgraceful. You understand immediately. The lady in disguise. You remember her calm face, her folded fan, the precise care with which she folded her towel. She's long gone, left quietly as the stars began to blink into view. The perfect ghost. You nod respectfully to the officials. No one matching that description remains, you say, which is technically true. The tattletale makes a sound halfway between a protest and a deflated carp. The officials pace. One pokes the herbal barrels. Another questions the ingredients in the foot soak. You offer explanations with just the right balance of humility and boredom. That's pine needle. That's orange rind. That's possibly licorice. They make notes. They sniff the towels. One of them asks, "Why does it smell like lavender and mischief in here?" You shrug. It's Thursday. Historians still argue whether these moral raids were genuinely about public virtue or just an excuse to patrol after curfew. Either way, the performance is always the same. Arrive loudly, inspect thoroughly, leave vaguely disappointed. Eventually, the officials bow stiffly and leave, the tattletale trailing behind like a dropped sash. You slide the door shut behind them and exhale slowly. The cat reappears, tail twitching like it wants to file a complaint. You start cleaning up. Night has deepened now. The air outside is thick with quiet and the distant clack of a bamboo wind chime. Inside, the lanterns flicker low, casting long, sleepy shadows. You mop the dressing room floor, finding the usual leftovers: 2 loose coins, a sash that somehow tied itself into a knot, and a single sock rolled into the corner like it's hiding from responsibility. You collect them all into the lost but not urgent basket. In the tub room, the last snoring customer finally stirs. He blinks, looks around, and asks if it's still afternoon. You assure him it is not, help him to his feet, and guide him to the exit where his sandals are miraculously still where he left them. He bows. You bow. He leaves. The air exhales. Now it's just you, your co-worker, and the lingering warmth of the day. You scrub the tub slowly, feeling the wood smooth beneath your hands. The herbal barrel is emptied, its soggy leaves smelling like cooked wisdom. You gather the used towels, folding them into piles that feel heavier than they should. Not with water, with stories. And as you hang up the final towel of the evening, your co-worker nudges you. Did you know, they say, that the lady in disguise dropped this? It's a hairpin, simple, elegant, with a tiny bell at the end that jingles like a secret when you shake it. You both stare at it. You don't say anything. Outside, the district is quiet now. Most shops shuttered. Only the tea stall across the alley still glows faintly, the scent of roasted barley drifting through the dark like a lullaby. You sweep the floor one final time. The cat follows you from room to room, tail low, footsteps silent. Somewhere near the door, a firefly gets trapped behind the paper lantern and blinks like it's trying to wink. You let it out, and with the steam finally gone, and the tubs drained dry, and the chatter of the day fading into memory, you begin the slow close. Locks slide, latches settle, a final bow to the space, to the water, to the warmth still echoing in the wood. The bathhouse sleeps now. So do you. Almost. The district outside is still now, wrapped in a silence so soft it feels like someone's laid a silk cloth over the world. You step out onto the narrow wooden porch behind the bathhouse, the back alley just wide enough for the moonlight to slip through in slender silver ribbons. Crickets hum like tiny flutes. Somewhere in the distance a dog barks once, then thinks better of it. You stretch your arms above your head. Every muscle aches in that strangely satisfying way that says, yes, you earned this soreness. Your robe still smells faintly of cedar and steam. Your hands are pruny from 100 little soakings. And your hair, well, your hair gave up hours ago. Inside, your co-worker is folding the last few towels, humming a lullaby neither of you remembers the words to. The cat is passed out beside the furnace, belly up, completely confident the world will turn without its supervision. You close the shutters one by one. With each one comes a little whisper of memory. The monk's sandalwood, the tea house girl's laughter, the chaos of a purple bath blend, the older man's tofu speech, and of course, the noble woman in disguise, slipping through shadows with dignity sharper than any sword. You light the final lantern, not because you need it, but because the ritual matters. It flickers quietly beside the entrance, casting a golden puddle on the wooden planks, inviting no one in and letting everyone know. The bathhouse is at peace. And then, just before you lock the outer door, you pause. The alley beyond is draped in mist. The rooftops seem to float. A breeze carries the last strains of a shamisen from somewhere up the hill. You inhale, hold it, let it out slowly. Back inside, you roll out your thin futon beside the still warm stove. The room smells of lavender, rice steam, and just a hint of foot soak. It's comforting, familiar, like the world itself is tucking you in. You lie down. The wood creaks softly beneath you. The flickering lantern light dances against the ceiling beams. The cat gives a faint, wheezy sigh, as if exhaling the entire day. And finally, the bathhouse is silent, not empty, not lifeless, just still. A wooden temple to water, to warmth, to shared silences and friendly splashes. A place where strangers soaked side by side, where laughter echoed in rising steam, and where even the grumpiest samurai might leave just a little more relaxed than they arrived. The scents linger: orange peel, pine needle, jasmine, and so do the stories, folded neatly away like towels waiting for morning. You close your eyes, let it all float. Let it steam and settle. Let it be soft. Let sleep carry you. The bathhouse is behind you now, but its warmth lingers on your skin, in your breath, in the slow curl of your thoughts. You walk slowly through quiet Edo streets, feet brushing the cobblestones with barely a sound. The lanterns flicker as you pass, their glow dimming, softening, fading like the last traces of steam on the evening air. Each breath feels longer now, deeper. The kind of breath that doesn't just fill your lungs but sinks down into your bones, your belly, your very sense of being. You pass shuttered stalls, baskets left to rest beneath eaves, the faint scent of roasted barley and jasmine still clinging to the air like a dream. Someone coughs in the distance. A shutter creaks. A cricket sings a lullaby only crickets understand. Your body feels heavy in the best way, weighted, grounded, peaceful. The memory of warm water still hugs your limbs, like the ghost of a gentle tide. The hush of the bathhouse whispers through you. Splash, sigh, hush, hush. The night deepens. The stars blink overhead. And you, wrapped in steam-kissed silence, drift gently into sleep.